welcome to the Dreamlands. We are back with another multiplayer strategy guide video for Homeworld Deserts of Kharak. Now, I had originally intended for this week's episode to focus on some ways that you can defend against Galcian aggression as the Coalition. However, a new build order has recently reared its ugly head, and it is a Khaaneph build order that is a double base runner blast drone rush, and it has been causing some issues with very competent players among the community. So what I did a few days ago was I got together with one of my friends, and I had personally never seen this particular build order in competitive games before, so it's very new, and it isn't yet really part of the Khaaneph meta. But I wanted to address this build order before it becomes part of the meta, because I'm not going to lie, it is ruthless. So what I did, because I'd never seen it before, was I linked up with one of my friends who's a very good player, and we tested this out. He played as the Khaaneph, and he did this build on me, and we played several games to try and kind of work out how you can defend against this. So I was able to actually hold the rush and win on a couple of occasions. So I decided to upload one of those examples as kind of a tutorial on how you can scout this and how you can respond to it. And that's what we're going to take a look at this week. And I wanted to do that before this build becomes kind of a problem, because I definitely see it potentially becoming a problem. It is very, very, very strong. And if you don't scout it and don't respond appropriately, it will end the game, like right away, very quickly. So with that in mind, there's a couple of things that I wanted to say really quick before we jump in. And the first thing is that, unlike the previous two videos, this is a real game that was played. Yes, I knew the build order that I was up against. However, I did make a point of opening in a standard Coalition opener. Pretty much the same opener that I would use in a 1 versus 1 competitive game 95% of the time. So the opener that I'm going to do is standard 1 versus 1 Coalition opener. And my opponent is a very, very good player, and he was legitimately trying to kill me with this build, and I was legitimately fighting for my life. So you're going to see an example of a real game. And it's going to be a lot more fast-paced than the previous two videos. So this fight wasn't scripted in any way, and yeah, I made a point of making it opening in a fair way, like the same opener that I would use anytime. So I will detail what that opener is, and I will show you guys how to scout this build and how to respond appropriately. It is very difficult to hold, and it requires an intense level of micro. So this is definitely like more of an advanced video than the previous two in the series. Now, the second thing that I want to say is, because this is such a new build order, my opponent, who is a very good player by the name of Majir, he may not know the most efficient way of doing this build. So there may be a way of doing this build that's slightly faster, slightly better, slightly more efficient. It hasn't really gotten into the hands of the top players yet and worked out the specifics, but that works both ways. So I haven't faced it myself very much at all beyond a few games, so I haven't really had the opportunity of figuring out the most efficient, best possible way of defending against this. However, the method that I'm going to show you does work, as you will see in the game. So I mean, you're unlikely to come across this build in many games. As I said, it hasn't really worked itself into the Khaaneph meta yet. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't, because it's pretty cheesy. But I will show you how to scout it. And so if you're playing 1 versus 1, if you're playing against Khaaneph, you need to scout this build. You need to scout it, okay? And you need to respond appropriately, and I will show you exactly how to do that. And because this game will be a bit more fast-paced, I will be pausing probably a bit more than I did in previous videos, just to explain a little bit about what you should be doing and how. So with that said, let's jump into a replay here. Whoops. Let's jump into a replay, not a game. All right, we are going to look at the second example. All right, so this is going to be myself versus Majir Pack 2. It is going to be Coalition versus Khaaneph. The reason I chose Coalition is because they are probably the faction that has the most difficulty with this build. Soban definitely has it easier, much easier, for reasons that I will explain in the game. And I mean, if you're playing as Khaaneph or as Galcian, then you pretty much just have to spam Sand Skimmers. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as well. But for Coalition, you don't have some of the tools that Soban have, namely the targeting jammer or the armed logistics modules. And also, you're probably less likely to see this if it's a mirror match of Khaaneph. And with Galcian, your carrier is going to be so much more effective at dealing with blast drones. So I think Coalition has the hardest time with this, so that's what we will use as our example. And we will jump right in. It's going to be on Clash Teeth, which is a notorious rush map as well. So pretty much like the worst map that you don't want to see a rush build on, which you're going to see a rush build on, and the worst faction to defend against it, in my opinion. But as I mentioned, there's probably going to be more than one way of holding this, but this is the way that I found to be the best out of several different attempts. So we will get into it promptly. And this video can also serve as an example of kind of a standard opening build order for 1 versus 1. Definitely much safer, and especially on a smaller rush map like this. Almost. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to pause it real quick. And as usual for these games, I'm not going to reveal the map and I'm not going to show anything. And what you want to do right at the start is grab your 4 salvagers, send them all to CUs. That's pretty much standard for almost every single opening build order. Now grab your carrier, immediately queue up 1 salvager and research LAV fabrication. Now I've chosen to recycle my starting base runner. That's going to give me a little bit of a boost with some extra resources, and that has allowed me to queue up 2 more salvagers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to saturate my main location, and I'm going to send 1 salvager over to the closest wreck bulkhead, open it up, and begin mining CUs there for a little bit of extra CUs. And this is a pretty darn standard opening build order. Now as for 1 versus 1, and especially on a small map like this. So now what you need to do as soon as LAV fabrication is finished, start building LAVs. Now you can see I've queued up a ton of them. And what you want to do is you want to fan them out. We'll pop in the sensors manager here. I'm going to send one over here. I'm going to send one over here. And I'm going to send one over here. And you can see already, I'm just going to pause it here, already there's a blast drone inbound. There's going to be tons of blast drones coming at you from every direction, and you need to scout it. So that's why you need these early LAVs. And this is a standard opener if you're playing Coalition, and especially if you're playing versus Khaaneph or Galcian, which are notorious for very, very aggressive build orders. So that's why I basically saturated my starting location, got a little bit of extra mining going on, and just begin immediately producing LAVs. Now that I've scouted this blast drone, what you want to do is you want to get your LAVs to start focusing down the blast drones. We can see that there are 2 more coming in from behind. Now I have scouted the build, so I know what it is. Okay, now at this point, this is very, very, very important. There are 3 blast drones. They are surrounding me, and they are going to make their way towards my salvagers. What makes this so devastating is that 2 blast drones, just 2, can kill your entire resourcing operation. your entire mining line can die. And I'm going to pause it again. So what you need to do at this point, you cannot simply rely on LAVs to kill the blast drones before they get to your salvagers. You can't do it. They don't have enough DPS, and you don't have enough of them to take down all these blast drones. And as I said, there's only 2 that need to get into your resourcing operation. So what you need to do is you need to split your salvagers. Now the way I do this, I'm going to explain this and then we can see it in action. The way I do this is I have 3 groups of 2. So I'll grab these 2, I'll send them off to the right, I'll grab these 2, I'll send them off to the left, and I'll grab these 2 and I'll send them off down. Now that you have your salvagers split into 3 groups of 2 moving in different directions, grab 1 from each of the group and split them in the opposite direction that the group is moving in. So what I do is 2 to the left, 2 down, 2 to the right. Once they're moving, I'll grab 1 and split it off from the pair, grab 1, split it off from the pair, grab 1, split it off from the pair. That means all 6 of your salvagers are moving in different directions, and the blast drones will not be able to explode and do area damage and kill more than 1 salvager at a time. So we can see this in action here. I've begun moving them, and I'm just splitting them apart. And now look, there simply aren't any salvagers mining. Okay, so now that the danger is gone, you can grab your salvagers and put them back to mining. I think I might have lost 1 salvager there, actually. So that was a thing. But 1 is better than 6. So that's what you got to do. Just split your salvagers and continue pumping out LAVs. Okay, that's all you have to do. Split your salvagers every time blast drones come in and pump out more and more and more LAVs. Now what you can see is I'm sending all of my LAVs out onto the map and spreading them into the 3 different areas that they might attack from. Now I've spotted his base runners, so what I'm going to try to do is focus down and kill some of his base runners. And this is crucial for defending this build. However, be very, very careful that you don't group all of your LAVs together, because a single blast drone detonation can wipe out an entire ball of LAVs. So again, all I did was I continue producing more and more and more LAVs. I used the LAVs to try and screen and kill the blast drones, and when some of them made it into my resourcing location, I just split off my salvagers to mitigate the damage. Now that I've been able to hold the rush, look at this. Oh! That's why you don't want to have your LAVs grouped up. Now that was a massive, massive mistake on my part. Maybe I was looking at my carrier for a second or whatever. So that was really bad. And so that shows a good example of what a blast drone can do. So do not group your LAVs together like I did. A single blast drone can end your entire army. And that's going to force me to produce more and more LAVs now. But now that I've actually held the rush for the most part, what you want to do is start producing AAVs as quickly as you can. Now I believe I've lost 1-2 salvagers to all of these blast drones. However, these blast drones are an investment of 150 CUs per blast drone, and the second base runner is 250 CUs. You can see there's another blast drone coming in. I have to split off my salvagers. Oh, just killed it in time. So with a little bit of micro, we're able to hold the rush with just LAVs and a little bit of salvager micro. Now, here's how you transition out of this. You know that your opponent has invested an extra 250 CUs into a second base runner and 150 CUs per blast drone. That is a massive investment. This build is very, very much a rush in the truest sense of the word. It is a huge investment, and it's meant to end the game immediately. Now that it didn't work and we've held it, what we need to do is do some economic damage to our opponent and try and slow them down so that we can safely expand. Now you don't need AAVs to defend against these blast drones. You can do that with LAVs, as we've seen, and with a little bit of micro on your salvagers. So continue producing LAVs as long as they continue sending blast drones. Once you have a couple of AAVs out, send them across the map to do some economic harassment. because the enemy will not have invested in higher tech units. So you can safely do some economic damage and slow them down, and of course, in true RTS fashion, expand while you're attacking. So as soon as AAV production was finished, I had 2 AAVs, I'm sending them in to attack. I built a support cruiser on the back of that. I'm leaving my support cruiser at home, and I'm going to bring my carrier up to my second resourcing location and saturate that, and I will be sitting on a pretty healthy 2-base economy. Oh, another big hit from a blast drone, and it just wrecked all of my AVs. However, or my LAVs, however, that's okay. That allowed me to survive with my economy intact. Now I'm going to expand to a 2-base economy, and I'm going to continue to apply some pressure with these AAVs. Now I wasn't able to do any economic damage with these AAVs, but I am continually bleeding sand skimmers, and that's a nice thing to do. So most importantly, we were able to hold the rush, and that's kind of the entire purpose of this video. So again, my opener was saturate your main resourcing location and research LAV fabrication. As soon as LAV fabrication is out, begin producing LAVs and fan them out across the map in order to scout. Once you've scouted the build, if it's not a rush build, you can proceed to go into support cruiser or go into tech or whatever you want. But if you see those blast drones or those forward base runners, do not stop building LAVs. Build more and more and more LAVs, and use the LAVs to skirmish and screen for your forces, and try and kill blast drones as they're coming into you. And if any of them make it into your close by your resourcing location, just split your salvagers again. 2 this way, 2 down, 2 this way. Once your 2 groups, your 3 groups of 2 are moving, grab 1 out of that group and split it off, 1 out of that group and split it off, and 1 out of that group and split it off. And that's how I split salvagers. Just due to how the speed at which units move in this game gives you more than enough time to split off your salvagers and mitigate that damage. Now that we've held the rush, things are actually progressing kind of at a normal pace. Our opponent has a 1-0 lead on artifacts, which is to be expected. They had 2 base runners and they had you contained with constant harassment. So now that I've actually been able to hold the rush and I've stabilized somewhat, I've decided to go for pretty much your standard coalition tech for the early to mid game, which is AAVs and railguns. I do expect an enemy attack pretty soon because I saw that they had secured a second resourcing location and they had actually amassed a pretty significant force of sand skimmers and assault railguns. So sticking with your basic trio of units, LAVs, AAVs, and railguns, I've built an additional base runner. I'm going to go try and grab an artifact, and I will continue producing LAVs. I see that the opponent has gotten pretty aggressive with me. Once again, they're sending assault ships. Actually, a lot of assault ships. They're sending assault ships from basically all 3 locations. I think that he sends some from here later. I said that, but 2 locations. Probably going to lose this base runner, but with a huge number of, yeah, there they are. So he is sending groups of 2, which is pretty good. That's actually quite scary. It can catch you out of position, and even just 2 assault ships can wreck an entire resourcing operation. But I was able to hold with really minimal casualties, as a matter of fact. And now I'm going to have to push out. I've got a pretty significant force here. I have LAVs screening for my railguns and AAVs. And I've caught the enemy in a spot where they have split off the majority of their assault ships to try and kill this base runner. So this base runner is simply luring his forces away and allowing me to divide and conquer. And he's not even going to get it, actually. That's hilarious. He's not even going to get it. So we have a pretty big fight in mid here. I do have some armor upgrades, which is what you want to do. Now the rest of this game is going to play out pretty standard. I do have the carrier upgrade, the carrier production upgrade, which is allowing me to keep pace in terms of production with my opponent. and I'm in full macro mode at this point. I'm just continuing to produce more and more railguns, more and more AAVs, more and more LAVs. You gotta watch out for this too. This is really freaking annoying. This dune here blocks line of sight, so you can't shoot past that. And if you want to attack these assault ships, this is a really smart positioning actually. If you want to attack these assault ships, you're gonna have to crest that dune. And assault ships are very, very good at close range. So really nice move by my opponent here. He's going to be able to pick off a couple of railguns. A little bit of a bad rally point here. Actually, he's going to get a number of railguns, which is a nice pickup for him. He is also ahead in terms of artifacts, 2-1. And he's continuing with this blast drone bullshit. He must have some... does not have armor upgrades. That's okay. Now he's seen that I have gone for a railgun heavy composition, so wisely he has deployed a huge number of sand skimmers, so I am going to need these AAVs to deal with these sand skimmers. My opponent is a really good player, and this is a pretty good example of what you want to do in this game. So more than one educational tool included in this video. See how he's just using his sand skimmers to focus down each of my railguns. That's exactly what you want to do. Sand skimmers are fast and they do savage amounts of damage to railguns. But at this point, I mean, I held his rush with minimal casualties, and his rush was such a huge investment that it's actually allowed me to have an edge in terms of macro for pretty much the majority of this game. Once you hold the rush, a rush like that is just, again, such a big investment that if you can manage to hold it, now you're going to be in a pretty damn dominating position. As you can see here, I have a huge advantage over my opponent just in terms of unit count, and I'm able to set up a dominant position with AAVs screening for my railguns. Now my railguns are going to try and focus down his production cruiser as I outflank with my LAVs, pick off his railguns, and then proceed to clean up his sand skimmers. So again, we're just transitioning now into a very, very standard game here. He is going to lose this production cruiser. He's going to lose the majority of his salvagers and all of his railguns. So at this point in the game, it's pretty much looking like this is our game to take. On the back of my attack, once again, build another support cruiser. RTS man, expand while you're attacking because the enemy will be defending against you, not attacking you. So at this point in the game, we've pretty much won, I would have to say. Barring something crazy like 2 siege cruisers coming out of the fog of war and just laying waste to our entire army, which is totally possible. However, highly unlikely, simply due to how much our opponent had to invest in that rush at the beginning of the game. He's pretty much unlikely to have very much high tech at this point in the game. We've cleared up one of his resourcing locations. We've cleared up a second resourcing location. We have boxed him into his starting location. We have used our macro advantage that we gained from holding the rush and expanding our economy. Now we just have basically a snowball effect going on here where we're just unstoppable at this point in the game. We are going to clean up this production cruiser. We are going to go forward and kill their carrier, and it is going to be a successful hold. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope that it was educational and can give you guys a little bit of insight into how you want to scout these rush builds and how you want to defend against them. This is one of the more difficult rush builds to hold, simply because one mistake can end the game immediately. Like I said in the beginning of the video, all that you need to have happen is 2 blast drones into your mineral line and it's over. 2 blast drones can kill this entire thing in one detonation, so you really, really, really have to scout this build early, and that shouldn't be a problem if you're opening with a standard opening build order. You just have to aggressively build LAVs, you have to fan them out onto the map, and you have to scout the rush. Now that holds true for every single rush in the game. You need to see it coming. If you can see it coming, you can respond appropriately. What makes this rush harder to hold than a simple sand skimmer or LAV rush or whatever is the fact that it will come at you from multiple angles, and a single detonation can end the game immediately. So it's crucial to learn how to split your salvagers, and all you got to do is keep making LAVs, keep splitting your salvagers. That's all you got to do. Now, it's really hard to do. This is one of those dirty builds that is far, far more difficult to hold than it is to execute. And that, in my opinion, is the sign of a cheesy build. One that is hard to hold, easy to execute, and can end the game immediately. Kind of like this is like the cannon rush, you know, of Deserts of Kharak. And there still needs to be more testing. I need to test this build against even better opponents and in many more situations before I can definitively say whether it's kind of overpowered or not, because it's possible that Majir just didn't execute this build at full efficiency, and if it was executed at full efficiency, I might not have been able to hold it. But again, I'm pretty certain that if you're up against a player of equivalent skill, and you simply keep producing LAVs and split your salvagers, you can come out ahead, because every detonation of 2 blast drones is 300 resources. So just outproduce your opponent, right? Split your salvagers and outproduce your opponent. And as soon as you've held the rush, counterattack, hit their economy, and then macro up. So that's how I did it. And I may post some more videos about this as I discover more about this build and learn about it, but I just wanted to get this video out there anyway, and let's see what you guys think about it. Tren, everybody else, A-Game, if you guys are watching, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you can hold this build better, let me know how you can execute it better, and let's get a little discussion going about this cheeseball rush build. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I will catch you tomorrow.